Welcome to another episode of Ghost Fartic Podcast, where we bring you world-class speakers and educators from around the globe straight to your doorstep. In this week's episode, Rabbi Yirmiyahu Cohen, a master educator, teacher of thousands of students in Israel, Jerusalem, is going to go through the laws of kosher for Passover, kitchen, car, baby food, and all the things we want to ask. Enjoy, and let's dive right in.
Hi, good afternoon. Shavua Tov from Yerushalayim Kodesh. So all of you which are back home or back in America, so you probably think that we're under attack, which is true that we are under attack, but living in Israel for a while has made us got very used to this type of under attack, that it's almost like part of the time changes. Oh, there's a time of the year that we're in the miklatim, in the shelters. So now this is like time of the year we're in the shelters. Normally it's not during Purim and Pesach, but this year God decided to change it up a bit and give us a bit of a different type of experience cleaning for Pesach. It's like you clean one window and there's a siren and you go back into the mamad, the shelter, and by the time you come out, you're not sure which window you were cleaning. But okay, let that be the biggest problems. So now, I'll tell you, as I was growing up in Gibraltar, my name is Yirmiyahu Cohen. I know Rabbi Chaim Levy since about 2017. We teach in the same place, Eshel, and also in Ber Miriam. And, we're good friends. And I try to sometimes fill in his halachot. Obviously, I cannot, but I try my best. Now, being from Gibraltar, and being Sephardi, I was taught many halachot, but many halachot that I was taught, I didn't feel that I was taught in a very comprehensive way. And I'll tell you what I mean. As I was growing up, I associated Pesach with really slavery. Like the moment that Purim would be over, literally the moment Purim would be over, my mother would start scrubbing for Pesach. And that meant that the whole kitchen was like starting to move out. First, they moved out from the kitchen to the dining room, from the dining room to the hallway outside, then to the staircase, and then it was basically outside the house. And from Purim, after Purim and to Pesach, I remember that first there wouldn't be much food going around, and my mother would clean everything, like from the bedside tables to the TV screens to the ceilings, to the roof, to everything. And I always wondered, is this the way it's supposed to be? But you don't question your mother. She cleans for Pesach this way. You just stay out of the way. And then when I got married, so I got married and my wife got pregnant and she gave birth, mamash. She gave birth a few days before Pesach. And we were supposed to go back. We were in Israel at the time. We were supposed to go back to Gibraltar for Pesach. But since my wife was late, she gave birth just before Pesach. So we were stuck in Israel for Pesach. And my wife was after birth. So she was in a after birth home. And I was given the job of cleaning for Pesach. And when my wife told me, that Pesach is in 4 days' time, I'm like, yeah. That you have to clean for Pesach? I'm like, really? That was like probably the biggest trauma that I've ever gone through in my life, that I had to clean for Pesach, especially when I associated Pesach with a very difficult time. Then what happened was that I called up a Rebbetzin, a well-known Rebbetzin Benaim, and I asked her, how do I clean for Pesach? She says, first of all, Mazel Tov on your new baby daughter. How do you clean for Pesach? So she asked me, you want to clean according to the halacha, what it says in the books, or according to what the women do? I'm like, I'll stick to the books. So she says, you clean what you use, and you close what you don't, and the rest is just details. And I got the details from her, and I realized that it's possible to do Pesach in a much simpler way than what we think Pesach is. So I'd like to give you, first of all, a bunch of guidelines. there is there in regards to Pesach, there are two main halachot we must know. Number one is you cannot eat chametz over Pesach. That's number one. Number two is you cannot own chametz over Pesach. You can't eat, you can't own. Those are the only two halachot we must know. You can't eat, you can't own. Now, what we have to do is we have to clean the house for Pesach very well so that we shouldn't by mistake eat any chametz. So for example, if I have a my if people eat on my couch, so then I have to clean the couch because on Pesach I might sit on the couch and find some chametz. So I clean the couch in the most practical, accessible way. Any way that the chametz could go in, that's until where I clean. So, for example, we have a 3-piece couch, one big long couch in my dining room. So over there on Shabbat, usually the kids sit down and they nash. So what we do is we remove all the thingies, all the cushions and all the mattresses or whatever there is on it, and we vacuum and we clean and we make sure there's no chametz involved. Now, could there be chametz inside at the bottom in the corner of the couch? For sure. There for sure could be chametz in the corner, but we can't reach there. We don't reach there. We only clean the parts of the couch which are accessible. What's not accessible, what we do is that we annul the chametz. Before Pesach, not only do we sell the chametz, but we annul the chametz. So my couch, for example, there may be crumbs inside the crevices, mamash stuck inside. There may be crumbs inside, but since I can't reach them and I annul my chametz, they don't belong to me. So I'm not going to get to eat them because they're not accessible. And B, I'm not going to transgress the prohibition of owning chametz because either I sold the chametz or I've annulled the chametz. So either way, there can be crumbs at the bottom of my couch which don't belong to me. And that's why we do what's called bitul chametz, biur chametz, on the night before Pesach. We make a declaration that any chametz that we don't want and we have not sold should be ownerless. That's what's called bitul chametz. We make it hefker. It does not belong to us. Even though it's at the corner of my couch in my house, it's not mine. I don't want it. And therefore, that's all. Now, when I was growing up, I was told that you have to dismantle the couch and look for the chametz inside because there is crumbs. And the answer is yes, there are crumbs. However, since the crumbs are not accessible, and the moment that I sell the crumbs or I cancel the crumbs, I do bitul chametz, it's not mine anymore. So that's the story with the couch. Now, when it comes to the dining room table, so over there, all you have to do is get a sponge and soap and clean all the surfaces, right? Get a sponge and soap and clean all the surfaces, especially on top and on the sides of the table. And also like on the table, on the bottom part of the inside. So on the table, the top of the table, obviously you clean with soap and a sponge, hot water, warm water, whatever goes. Then the sides that you touch and just below the bottom of the sides before which could be touched. Those are the three main parts of the table that you have to clean with soap and water. That's all you have to do. Once you've removed all the crumbs and once you clean, there is no chametz there. Now, what's the only suspicion that maybe hot chametz got absorbed into the wood? Since nobody puts a hot piece of bread on the table, then the table does not absorb anything. Things only get absorbed if you put the hot chametz directly onto the surface. Since people don't put the boiling hot bread onto the table or boiling hot pasta directly onto the table, then the table does not absorb. All you have to do is clean the surface. Now, you clean the surface. Do you have to cover it? The truth is you don't have to cover it, but the tradition among Am Yisrael is that we cover it because it looks better. But you don't have to cover it, but we do cover it. That's regarding the table. Now, regarding the dining room chairs, the same thing. We scrub with a sponge and with soap and with a brush. We get all the little crevices and corners. Once the main chametz is out and we can't reach any chametz, so then that's it. What, maybe there's chametz stuck between the cushion and the chair, and it's really stuck, you can't take it out. Do I have to dismantle the chair? No, because the problem is I might come, if it's not accessible, I'm not going to come to eat it on Pesach. And if that's the case, so then what's the problem? That I'm owning chametz. That's why on the night before Pesach, when we check for the chametz, we declare that any chametz that we have not seen or we have seen and we don't want, we declare it ownerless, as we call bitul chametz. That's regarding the dining room chairs. Okay. Now the bookshelves don't really need to be cleaned. However, if there are certain sefarim, kiddush books, zemirot Shabbat, kiddush books and zemirot Shabbat, which are offered on the table and they come in contact with food, you should have a different zemirot Shabbat and different kiddush books for Pesach, because those things really, really could get a lot of chametz on them, like the Birkat Hamazons and the kiddush books. They could really be come in contact with a lot of chametz. It's best to put them aside and have special Birkat Hamazons for Pesach. Now, if you have a book, for example, if you have a Gemara or you have a Kumar or a Midrash, which you use sometimes over the Shabbat table to say what Devar Torah, so then that's something that all you have to do is open it up, shake out the crumbs, make sure there's no crumbs, clean it properly, and then you can use the same sefer for Pesach. Because there aren't going to be many crumbs, but since we're talking about cleaning 2 or 3 books, just check through it well, and that's enough. That's enough. Now, in terms of the toys, if the toys are not going to be put on the table, they're going to be placed only on the floor. The toys don't really need, the kids' toys don't really need to be cleaned. If you want to be extra careful, what you do is you draw a bath of hot water and soap. You put the toys inside. Then you let the water leave, and then once that's done, the toys are fairly clean. If there's a toy that has mamash chametz stuck on it, so hopefully there won't be. But if there is, so you'll see it and you'll take it off. Now, if the toys don't go on the table, on the kitchen table, on the surface where you eat, on the Shabbat table, so then those toys don't have to be scrubbed properly. Anything that goes into the table should be scrubbed properly. If it's not coming on the table, then don't have to scrub it properly. So the toys that your kids use on the floor, those don't have to be scrubbed properly. If you want to be extra careful, put it in the bath, under soap and water, and that's enough. Good. That's regarding the salon, more or less, the dining room. When it comes to the kitchen, which is the harder part, let's now understand the guidelines of the halachot. There is what's called chametz, which is real pieces of chametz, crumbs, cookies, bread, pasta, couscous, right? Real chametz, and what's called chametz that got absorbed into something. So, for example, we're going to be talking about the fridge, freezer, oven, hot plate, and the kitchen surface and the gas. Those are the 6 main things we're going to talk about. The fridge and the freezer don't absorb, because anything that you put into the fridge or freezer is normally not boiling hot, and therefore it won't be absorbed onto the fridge itself. So if I put in even if I put in a pot of hot pasta into the fridge, since it's in a pot and since it's not directly on the actual fridge, so then anything that I put into the fridge does not get absorbed. So even if I put chametz into the fridge, hot chametz in the fridge or the freezer all year round, which people don't usually do that, but even if you do, since it's not hot enough and it's not directly on the racks of the fridge, they won't absorb. Now, what could be? There could be pieces of chametz stuck onto the racks and the walls of the fridge. That what you do is you remove the racks, You put them under soap and water. You clean them. The racks are clean. The walls are clean. That takes a bit of time because you have to remove the racks, clean them, remove the drawers, clean them, put them back in, let them dry, etc. That takes a bit of time. But in terms of scrubbing, there's not, in terms of real koshering, all you have to worry about the fridge is there chametz in the fridge? You vacuum, first you vacuum the fridge, then you clean it with soap, then you take out the racks, you make sure there's no real chametz, you clean everything, now you have a clean fridge. Some people cover the racks. It's a minhag, some do, some don't. You don't have to, but if you want to, you can. In my house, sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. I hold that if it's easy, do it. If it's not easy, don't break your head doing something that you don't have to do. So the freezer and the fridge, all you have to do is remove the racks, remove the glass, and clean out any chametz you see. If there's chametz under the lid of the freezer, so then you can try to vacuum it. You remove that layer if you can, and you clean as much as you can. Anything that's really not reachable, then again, since it's not reachable, I'm not going to come to eat it, and therefore, since I do bitul chametz, I annul the chametz before Pesach. Then the fridge and freezer is pretty much easy to do. Okay, now comes the hot plate. The hot plate. So now the dishwasher. The dishwasher is very easy. Dishwasher is you basically open up the dishwasher, make sure there's no real chametz anywhere stuck. Since it is a dishwasher, we assume that it's clean. What we do is then you run it. You do one wash on the dishwasher on empty with soap, right? You put in dishwasher detergent in the dishwasher, run it on empty, and you're good to go. The dishwasher is very simple. Now, regarding a microwave is quite complicated. The tradition among most families is not to use the microwave all year round. The microwave all year round, unless it's like you're in somewhere you can't have your own microwave, but a microwave is something that we don't recommend to clean. So I'm going to say for now that a microwave, you should not use the all year round microwave. However, there are ways of doing it. It's just too complicated for me to explain. And to be honest, I don't really know exactly how to clean it. So the microwave is cleanable, but too hard. And therefore, I'm going to say that you should have either a different microwave or no microwave. Good. The gas stove. So if you have a flat stove without like electric, all you have to do, a glass stove that's electric. Okay, now before we get to that. Now, according to Sephardim, I'm assuming everybody's Sephardi over here. According to Sephardim, glass does not absorb, not hot, not cold. That means that I can use a see-through glass, whether it's see-through transparent, or it's gray, or it's green, or it's yellow. I can use a see-through glass for meat and for milk. For example, I could have a dairy soup in a see-through glass, right? Wash it out properly, make sure it's completely clean, and afterwards use it for meat. Why is that? Because according to Sephardim, glass does not absorb. So as long as the glass is clean, it does not absorb, which means that the same glass, which the cups, for example, that I use during the year can be used on Pesach too. For two reasons. One, because glass is used for cold normally. And even if it was used for hot, we hold that glass does not absorb, and therefore I can use the same glasses for drinking, whether I drink with hot or cold all year round, as long as it's glass and see-through. Doesn't matter the color. So if you have a teacups, like tea mugs, which are see-through, or you have plates which are see-through, as long as they're clean, you can use for dairy and for meat, you can use for Pesach and all year round. So in my house, for example, the Shabbat cups, which are clean, which are glass and see-through, my wife just puts in the dishwasher. They're clean. We use the same ones for Pesach because we hold that glass does not absorb, and that is it. Now, therefore, if the gas is flat and it's glass on top, then the gas, whether it's used for hot or for cold, it won't absorb. All you have to do is you get a soap, you get a sponge, you clean it well, make sure there's no sticky chametz, there's nothing chametz over there, and then the same gas stove, which is flat, which you use all year round, all you have to do is clean it with soap and water, and that same gas stove you can use for Pesach, no problem whatsoever. That's why also if you would go to a hotel and they would have a kitchenette in the hotel and they have a gas stove that's glass, same thing, you get soap and water, you would clean it very well, and you can use that same glass stove because it's glass and it's electric and there's nothing to clean. When it comes to a stove which is gas, not electric, sorry, not the electric stove which is glass is very easy. What I'm talking about, what happens with a gas stove which has pieces. So that's a bit more complicated because that's got crevices and holes and corners. And so if you have a gas stove, so first of all, you clean everything with soap and water. Number one, soap and water, first of all. Then you pour boiling water from a kettle. So what you do is you remove all the pieces from the gas stove, and you remove all the pieces from the gas stove. Now, what you do is that you get every piece, and you get a sponge and soap, and you clean every single piece of the gas stove. Good. Then you pour, once it's clean, you pour boiling water over the grates and the black circles. Okay. And once you've cleaned them, and you pour boiling water over the grates and the black circles, then you're good. My wife says not to pour hot water over the actual place where the gas comes out because it'll block it'll block it and ruin the whole thing. So what you do is, Julia, hi, Lydia. So what you do is that the gas stove, you remove all the parts, you clean them, you put hot water, and then you just put them back. No problem. You've done the job. Hi, Simone. Good. That's regarding the gas stove. If an electric stove, it's simple. So if you have an electric stove with glass, very simple, soap and water, you're good to go. If you have a gas stove, all you do is you take off the pieces, you clean them with soap and water, and then you pour boiling hot water from the kettle, and that koshers all the parts. And even if some chametz got absorbed into the pieces, since you cleaned them and you poured boiling hot water, then you're good to go. With a hot plate, then you scrub it well. And some people, but the hot plate, I'll tell you what you can do. You can scrub it well. You can pour hot water from a kettle over the surface, and that's enough. One option, I'll tell you what one opinion says. You clean the hot plate with soap and water. Now it's clean. Now you boil up a kettle, you pour hot water over the hot plate, and then you rinse it and then you dry it, and the hot plate is kosher for Pesach as is. You don't have to do anything else. Now, some people, because it's Pesach, they get a bit nervous and they cover it with aluminum foil. So my wife usually covers it with aluminum foil. She says she gets a thick one, and that way she feels better. So she does. She'll do the cleaning. She'll even pour the hot water, and then she'll cover it. I told my wife that if it's something which is a bit extra time, a bit extra money, do it. But if it's gonna make too much hard work, don't do it. So the hot plate is, you clean it, scrub it, hot water, aluminum foil. Then that's the best, because since the food in the hot plate goes directly on it, we're supposed to be a bit more careful. That's regarding the hot plate. Now, if you have the surface, the surface of the kitchen, right? The marble, I don't know what you call it in American, the surface, right? The marble top. So over there, what you do is you scrub it well. Now again, because you don't put boiling hot chametz on the marble, when you put boiling hot chametz on the kitchen top, you don't put the chametz like the pasta directly on the kitchen top. You put it in the pot. So once it's in a pot, there is anyway some kind of barrier. So what you do is by the marble, by the top, is that you clean it good with soap and water. Make sure there's no crumbs and nothing sticky. Then you get a kettle, you pour over it, you dry it, and the marble is good to go. Some people like to cover it, but covering it is a pain in the neck. In my opinion, it's hard, it takes time, then you have to put it back on. In my house, we used to cover it, but it used to take my wife a long time. I told the halakha is you don't have to, so she doesn't do it anymore. So again, the surface, clean it with soap and water, pour from a kettle, and the surface is good. The surface does not need anything else done. If you want to be extra careful and cover it, do so. But for me, that's a pain in the neck. It takes a long time. And if it's sticky, afterwards, when you remove it after Pesach, usually it's hard to remove and it's sticky and people don't like it. So that you can do, but you don't have to do. So to the walls of the walls in the kitchen that are marble, you get soap and water. And you don't even have to put boiling hot water because no chametz goes directly onto that either. So even if it's in the pot, it doesn't usually touch the thing. So the countertop, soap and water, and kettle. The walls, soap and water, you don't need the kettle, and neither of them need covering. If you want to cover because you want to be extra careful, do so. But I don't recommend this. Just a headache, and there's more important things to do, like rest and have a normal meal so that you are able to enjoy Pesach and not just work more. So now that's regarding the dishwasher, microwave, gas stove, electric stove, hot plate, cup. Now, cups and plates, if they're made out of glass, just clean them and you're good to go. If they're made out of, if the cups and plates are made out of the porcelain or earthenware, right? Those cannot be kashered. You must put them away and not use them for Pesach. Now, if you have forks and knives, steel forks and knives, so those absorb when it's used for hot. So if you have metal forks and knives, which normally is used for hot machametz, so those you can put into a pot and pour onto them boiling hot water. So put the forks and knives, clean them with soap and water, and then pour from a kettle on each one separately, and you can kosher the same forks and knives you used all year round. You can kosher them for Pesach. We personally don't do that. We have a separate forks and knives for Pesach, dairy and meat, because that's something that doesn't take up too much space and it's not so expensive, so we do that. So, but you could technically, if you would find yourself in some kind of resort and you need forks and knives and you can't buy, so all you have to do is you would have to clean them, soap and water, pour hot water from a kettle over each fork and knife, and then you can use those forks and knives for Pesach and also for meat and for milk, as long as they do this process between one and the other. Now, in terms of the kiddush cup, the silver kiddush cup, silver does absorb, but only if it's hot. So the silver kiddush cups, or the little cups which you use to give out the grape juice or the wine, since those don't take in anything hot, all you do is you wash them well with soap and water, and you can use the same kiddush cups for Pesach and for all year round. Now, this we actually do. We have the same kiddush cups for Pesach and all year round, as long as they're able to be cleaned properly with soap and water. Then we use the same ones because, again, silver does absorb, but only if it's hot. And since we only use the kiddush cups and the little kiddush glasses for grape juice or for wine that's cold, then it doesn't absorb. And even if the wine would be hot, nobody does use hot wine, but wine is not chametz. Those are the oven. The oven, which you like the regular oven, that's a bit more complicated because the oven does absorb. So what you do with oven is if you have a self-clean oven, which is one of those ovens which can become super, super hot, with those, all you do is you clean the oven super well with soap and a sponge. You clean out the oven super well with soap and a sponge, and once it's cleaned super well, you take it all out, and you close the oven. You put it on the hottest possible heat for like 1 hour or so, self-clean, and that does the job. So if you have an oven all year round, okay, 1 second. So if you have an oven all year round, the all year round oven, you clean well with soap and water. Make sure there's no chametz in the corners, right? The oven is the one you have to clean best, because the oven is hot and the oven does have crevices. So the oven is the part of the kitchen that has to be cleaned best. You remove anything that there is, you clean it well with soap and water. Then you put it on the hottest heat, self-clean. And then after like an hour, you're good to go. The oven is used for Pesach too. Now, on the chat, somebody just asked me what happens if you wash the silver cups. And when you wash silver cups, so normally when you wash a silver cups over with hot water, right? With the hot water, so there's no real chametz which is boiling, which is touching the silver cups. So and if there was, it's just it will be a tiny amount, and it wouldn't be boiling hot. So the halakha would be that even if you were to wash the silver cup, or the silver little cups, the same place we would wash the rest of the chametz, doesn't matter, because it's not really boiling hot, and even the water is boiling hot. The chametz is not actually boiling hot, so then you're good to go. Okay, so that's fine. Now, regarding the grill, somebody asked me when a barbecue grill. So by grill, since anything that is grilled gets absorbed very, very deep inside the item. So a barbecue grill that's only used for meat or chicken or fish, a barbecue grill that you never ever put chametz on, just meat or chicken, you clean it well, soap and thingy, and that's all you have to do. However, if you put on the barbecue grill like pita to heat up, or slices of bread to heat up, then it gets absorbed into the metal and nothing can take it out, because boiling hot water only takes out what's absorbed in something it became absorbed with boiling hot water. So, for example, I have a pot and I heated up pasta with hot water. I got water and pasta heated up. So now the pasta is absorbed into the pot. Since I'm not sure if this is the right word, but since the pasta that got absorbed into the walls came through hot water, so then I remove the pasta that absorbed inside the walls with the same way that I put it in. So if I put it in with hot water and a pasta, I clean it, I put hot water, and it takes out the pasta from the walls. However, when it comes to a grill, by the grill, right, and even the parts of the oven, my wife has special different grill parts for the oven, because the grill parts, those get absorbed inside the grill parts, and that can only be taken out with what's called libun, which is like getting a torch and making it white hot, which we don't do. So a barbecue thing, if you have a barbecue thing, if you use it for only meat and chicken, wash it with soap and water, and that's enough. But if you use it for pita, then I would not use it. Get a different one. And an urn, an electric urn that you heat up water on Shabbat, an electric urn, if you don't put bread on the top to heat, some people put the bread on top to heat, but if you don't put the bread on the top to heat, all you have to do is you have to clean it well. And that's it, because there's no chametz inside. So an urn, clean it well on the inside and the outside, and then you can use the same Shabbat urn all year round. Again, but if you were to use the lid, if you were to heat up something on like bread or pita on the lid, or bureka on the lid, that would be a problem. Then you would have to do ha'agalah, you would have to pour hot water over the lid. But if you don't do that, then it's fine. Some people, what they do is when they buy an urn, they buy two lids. One for Pesach, one for all year round. So all year round, if you happen to put chametz on the lid to heat up on Shabbat, so then you have a spare lid for Pesach, and therefore it will be okay. So for the urn, as long as you don't heat up anything on top of the urn, then you're good to go. Now it comes to plastic. According to Sephardim, plastic does not absorb. Therefore, baby bottles, even though that you have hot chametz inside, so the halacha is you can scrub them clean and use the same baby bottles. In other words, you have a baby bottle that you put chametz inside, that's boiling hot. So then all you do is that you scrub them clean, since they don't absorb, and you can use the same baby bottle. However, since anything that comes in direct contact with hot chametz, we're a bit more careful. So the baby bottle, if you can buy new ones for Pesach, buy. If you can't buy, then you wash them well with a good brush, with a good soap. You scrub them well, and the same baby bottle which you used for all year round, you can use for Pesach too. Pacifier is the same. If you have this pacifier for all year round, the same one's for Pesach. All you have to do is you wash them well, and they're good to go, because even if there was chametz, it does not get absorbed into the pacifier. So the pacifier baby bottles, it's better to have new ones for Pesach since they don't cost too much. And they're pretty accessible, but if it would be difficult for you to get a new pacifier, a new baby bottle, then you could use the all year round ones as long as you wash them well with soap and water. What else? What else have I missed? Have I missed anything? No. Okay, good. Now regarding kosher Pesach products, I would like to make divide food into three. There is what's called chametz. There is what's called something which is not chametz, it just doesn't have a kosher stamp. And there is what's called something which has a kosher stamp. So obviously, anything that has a reliable kosher stamp is kasher lePesach, and it's good to be used over Pesach. Now, even if, for example, let's say, that in Israel, as from Rosh Chodesh Adar, 6 weeks before Pesach, all the products that come out are all kosher to Pesach, because in Israel, the same price. So, for example, if I were to buy ketchup, and I would use the ketchup before Pesach for chametz, can I use the same ketchup on Pesach? The answer is yes. Now, if I were to get the ketchup and I would stick it into the pasta, and then the ketchup might get absorbed by the pasta, then no. But most people don't stick the ketchup bottle into the pasta. So technically, this bottle of ketchup is kosher to Pesach. I used it all year round for chametz. Since the chametz is not inside the ketchup, then I can use the same ketchup. However, most people have a different one, but you don't have to. If you can afford it, have a different one, but you don't have to. It's important to know what you have to do and what you must do. Good. So then anything that has a kosher Pesach stamp is kosher Pesach, no questions, no problems. However, if there's something which does not have a stamp, but it's not chametz either, then what? For example, bottled water. Bottled water is not chametz, but it hasn't got a stamp. Doesn't matter. We say bottled water is not chametz. Salt, sugar. Salt and sugar that you buy in the regular store does not have a kosher Pesach stamp, but it's not chametz. Now, if they sell kosher Pesach sugar and salt for the same price or a little bit more, then that's one thing. But if the prices are much higher just because there's a stamp in it, so water, salt, and sugar does not have to be kosher Pesach. As long as it's new and it's clean, does not have to be kosher Pesach. Neither does fruits, neither do nuts, neither does soap need to be kosher Pesach, neither liquid soap, no hand soap, no shampoo. Now, if you have a shampoo or a liquid soap, which for sure has wheat inside, then some people are careful not to use it. But it's better not to use it, but it's not really a problem, but it's better not to use it. So if you have soap, now toothpaste really is not chametz either. So in Israel, you can get kosher Pesach toothpaste pretty easy. So then since toothpaste goes direct into your mouth, I would say that you should have kosher Pesach toothpaste, but if you would be stuck or you have a special toothpaste, then you'd be able to use the same toothpaste, but it's better to have it. Now, if like somebody just asked in the chat, what happens if you have salt? So if the salt has not absorbed any chametz, so if you have a salt thingy that you use all year round, if it got absorbed with chametz, then you can't use it. But if it didn't get absorbed with chametz, you don't pour the salt over hot chametz, right? So then it should be okay. But again, salt is something easy just to buy in the store. I wouldn't rely on using the salt from last year of the all year round. Salt and spices, all those things, just buy new ones. It's much easier. It's cheap and it's easier. Anything that's expensive or a big headache, then we try to rely on different leniencies. Okay, so that's regarding salt, sugar, spices. So again, you can go into a regular store, buy salt, sugar, and ground spices that you know does not contain chametz, right? Obviously, you can go. Obviously, fish. You can also go to a market and buy fish, as long as you can trust that there's no chametz around. Normally, you can buy the fish in the market, rinse it under water, and if it would be any chametz, it's not there anymore. Many people like to buy things, like to buy things which only have a hechsher. You can, but if it's not going to be a big amount of money, if it's a big amount of money and you can't afford it, then you don't have to have hechsher. Okay, the closet. Okay, I'll do the closet in a second. Now, liquor. If you have any liquor, obviously not whiskey, any liquor that's not kasher lePesach, any liquor that's kasher lePesach that you use all year round, you can use on Pesach too, because that's something that's expensive. You're not going to buy a special chocolate liqueur on Pesach if the one that you have all year round has a kosher stamp, right? It's more expensive, but you don't have to. But if it's a type of the thing that your kid might have put some biscuits inside, some cake inside, again, that's not something that usually people do. So I would say that liquor all year round is fine. Now, how do you clean the closets? I forgot that. How can I forget the closets? So this is what Mrs. Benaim told me. If I'm using the closet, what I do is I remove everything and I scrub with soap and water. Once I scrub with soap and water and there's no crumbs and there's no stickiness and there's no chametz, that's all I have to do. What I do is open up a closet, I take out all the contents, I scrub the walls and the shelves with soap and water. I'm sure it's clean, it's not sticky. I can now put the food back inside, no problem whatsoever. I don't have to do anything else. If I'm not using it, I don't even have to clean it. All I do is I close it, put a little sticker that says sold for Pesach, and that's it. And even if I don't manage to put the sticker, still okay. So for example, if in my kitchen, we decide out of 15 closets to use 7 closets for Pesach, so what we do is we empty out the closets, we clean them we vacuum, soap and water, the shelves and the walls, we put it back inside, we clean the door and the handles, kosher the Pesach, we don't need to do anything else. If there are closets which we are not going to use, then you don't have to do anything at all. If you want to be extra careful, just put kasher, just put sold for Pesach. And that when you sell the Pesach, all the chametz inside will be sold automatically. You don't have to clean what you're not going to use. It's very important. Don't clean what you don't have. Clean what you're going to use. What you don't have to use, you don't have to clean. If you have time and you want to clean it, fine. But if it's going to be at the expense of the family, of the Shalom Bayit, sometimes the mothers want to be extra careful and they clean extra, but the kids and the husband don't have a good meal, don't have a good experience. So then the extra cleaning, which is extra, comes at the expense of the husband and the kids. So what I say is, do what you have to do, and we don't have to do clothes. Now, when I talk about the closet, I meant the kitchen closets. The kitchen closets, all you have to do is you remove, you clean, you put them back. If you don't use them, just close them, put a sticker if you want, and that's it. The clothing closets, so depends. If they're clothing closets which kids may hide chametz inside, so then you have to check them. But if, like you're talking about, if like when the kids are older, they don't usually hide chametz in these things. So in my house, for example, each child is told, listen, it's your closet. Go through. If you ever put any chametz inside, just look for it, take it out, and put it into the food chametz that's going to be sold for Pesach. Now, if there are children's closets which they may have chametz lying around, so then you could check them, but you don't. You could check them. It's good to check them, but you don't have to do a huge big deal about it. Now, the clothing. If the clothing, once the clothing has been washed, the chametz is not really edible anymore. So, for example, if your child has a coat, and in the coat he may have stuck in a wafer or a candy or something that's chametz, so then check the coats. But the shirts and the the underwear and the vests and the t-shirts and the pants normally that are put through the wash, then there's not going to be any chametz inside. And if there was chametz inside, the soap has canceled out any of the chametz. Oh yeah, I'll do the car soon. Yeah, so when I first got married, somebody told me I would have to check the shirt. So I would, before Pesach, I would take out my shirt and I would pull out all these crumbs. And somebody says, "What? You put it through the wash and there's no crumbs there? What? There's going to be a tiny little crumb? That's batel. That's not considered a crumb. That's nothing." So clothing does not have to be cleaned. However, coats, which are not normally put through the washing machine, or suit jackets, which don't normally go through the washing machine, right? Those things, I would say that since a person could put in chametz in the pocket, you go to a kiddush on Shabbat and you put the food in the pocket. I'm not sure how that will work, but those are the type of places you could put. So then the jacket and the coats, you should check inside. But once you've checked inside and shaken out any chametz that's inside, then it's good. And regarding the car, again, the car does not absorb anything. So all you have to do is get a good vacuum cleaner, vacuum up all the crumbs, and if there's anything sticky, soap and water. And the car just takes time. The car takes time, but if you have a good vacuum cleaner and a good sponge and a good soap and a good thingy brush, the car will take a bit of time. That's the man's work, but there's not so much to it. It's just a bit of time. Same in the office. If you have in your office, the stroller will be the same. But the stroller, normally the stroller is something that normally gets so full of crumbs. So that has to be cleaned very, very well, because really the stroller is like full of crumbs normally. If the child is 1 or 2, it's full of crumbs. If it's half a year old, there's not going to be any crumbs. But the stroller, again, doesn't have to do anything special. You have to just shake it up, scrub it well. And as long as you don't see anything, then the stroller is good. The office, the table of the office, assuming they don't put hot chametz on the table, again, maybe a baby wipe would be fine. You don't have to do very much, because even coffee and tea is not chametz. Cocoa is not chametz. So even if you put a hot tea, hot coffee, hot cocoa on the table of your office, then it's not going to be absorbed. There's nothing to worry about. Backpacks, that's something which could have chametz from the year. So the backpacks should be checked. So I would say that backpacks which are used for school, those should be checked. Suitcases you're going to use for Pesach, those should be checked. Jackets and coats, those should be checked. But again, you don't have to check them too well. You just shake them up. There's no crumbs, you're good. If there's crumbs, you clean them out, and that should be enough.
We hope you enjoyed Ghost Fardik Podcast. Stay tuned for the next episode. Let's be in touch. To sponsor a class, hit us up on Instagram at @GhostFardik or hi@ghostfardik.com.